So we're there. Penultimate, sound like I can speak, okay, episode of Black. I am not prepared. When I was typing the last of my notes for this, I felt like I was gonna cry. No, I'm not ready. It's quite funny because Orphan Black did this thing of what Orphan Black means to me, like a hashtag thing that you do on Twitter. And what's funny is I did a lovely like, oh, Orphan Black means to me da 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 da. I mean, it's hard to sort of say in 140 characters. And then I did one that was quite funny, and I was like, well, it's taught me that cloning is a very bad idea. And that was the one they liked. I was like, okay, at least it's funny, and at least I'm not like tearing up and stuff. But it was just funny. But no, so I'm not ready. And I think I'm also not ready because then that means the day after I'm going to have my tea, and yeah. Bought myself entertainment. Like, I bought the Orphan Black colouring book. Ta-da! It's got Kira and Sarah. We even have, I can't remember her name, but like creepy eye woman from the very start. I feel like it was something like Iris or Sky. We have Scott and Cosima. It's so good. I've even started it. No, technically it's for NYT. I've started it. Can you guess what page I chose to start? Don't judge the colouring. It's terrible. I know. I never professed to be a great colourer. Sounds like you're trying to say cholera. But yeah, so we're on the last stretch, and it's a 2-part final, and this episode had me feeling things. I was like, this is so sad, but then it got happier, and then it was like, oh, what are we doing now? Yeah, that's how I describe it in as little words as possible. But we have next week, and next week's could be a tearjerker because I had this lovely thing written out that I was going to say in this week's episode, but then I thought, no, it's not ended yet. Let's get on with it. This week's episode is called One Fettered Slave. I've now put what the time frame was since the last episode, because that's one thing that I do get sometimes confused with, sort of the time frame between episodes, because I know it's a couple of days to a couple of weeks really, and then season to season, let's say at most a month or two. So this time frame since last week is 4 days. We learn in the episode that it's 4 days. We start off the episode and it's Helena's episode, which I love. Quite funny because my mum dressed as Helena for Comic-Con, so it's a bit like, oh look, this is who you were being. I knew who she was being, you know, just looked like her. And she's in the back of a van on a stretcher because we all know last week she got kidnapped. Gracie was killed. Yeah, it was a sort of, yeah. Well, secured would be a better wording. She's secured. She's not just on the stretcher on her own will. And we flash back to the convent that Helena grew up in. We see her in a nun's office stealing chocolate. I'm like, okay, that is totally Helena. We all knew she was obsessed with food, so it's like, and at first I did wonder why she looked a bit different to the other clones, because we know the other child clones are played by Cynthia Gallant, and I think the girl who played Helena is younger, and I think Helena was meant to be younger, but also Helena is Ukrainian, and as a Ukrainian child, she probably would speak Ukrainian. I mean, growing up in a Ukrainian convent, you speak Ukrainian, so they probably needed someone who could speak Ukrainian. And apparently Tatiana Maslany is part Ukrainian. Any more reason why this role suits her so much? Not the Helena, but like the whole Orphan Black role in itself. And also because Helena and Sarah were hidden and nobody knew about them, so it sort of would make sense for them to look a little bit different, because otherwise they would have just been found out of hiding with the amount of Neolution people everywhere. And then the nun, whose office she's in, comes and sort of relieves stress, if you know what I'm talking about. And Helena oversees this and sort of comes out of hiding, and the nun catches her watching what she's doing and immediately punishes her by pouring bleach over her head in a bucket, whilst Sister Irina, who I assume has had her tongue cut out at this point, could only stand and sort of watch. And then this sister poured the bleach over her head, takes her and puts her in solitary confinement. Basically a cupboard. They basically put her in a cupboard. And we see Helena take off the towel from her head to dry the bleach, and her hair is now bleach blonde and frizzy. That explains why you don't have the same hair colour, because it was bleached like that we know of Helena, and that's why she doesn't have the same hair as Sarah. She would have if it hadn't been bleached. But we do see that she kept one of the chocolates to eat for later. Like, smart. And then we have Mrs. S's funeral, and Sarah's like, you know, some of you know what we've been through more than others, but all of you knew S didn't go anywhere without a fight, and that fight was for all of us, her people, her network, her family. The sad part is Alison and Kazim were on there. But like, you couldn't disguise them. I mean, I suppose you don't want any drama. And we find out what Siobhan was writing when she was making a bunch of flowers. And poor Kira, she's crying, so Felix has to read it while Sarah comforts her. And it just says, "Just remember, my loves, death is nothing at all. I've only slipped into the next room. You can call me by my old familiar name. Put no sorrow in your tone. I promise we'll laugh at this difficult parting when we meet again. Oh, my love." And then Kira puts a red rose on the coffin, which is just like, oh. And then we go to Alison and Kazima, who are not at the funeral, are video calling each other, you know, like being like, "This is so sad, we can't be there." And they're worried for Sarah as she hasn't grieved properly, and we find out Delphine is in France. From what Kazima says, where she's like, she found her own mother, I assume Sarah was the one that found Mrs. S dead. And then we go to Mrs. S's house, because I'm still calling it Mrs. S's house, because I cannot call it Sarah and Felix's house. Partly because it's not Felix's house, because Felix has his loft, but I cannot call it Sarah and Kira's house. Been so long been Mrs. S's house, I just can't say it. And they're holding the wake after the funeral, and Sarah's watching news coverage about Dyad, now that all their information has been leaked. And the news is talking about the bribes, and saying that they link Hasham al-Khatib to the fringe futurist movement Neolution. I wouldn't call it a fringe thing, because it looks like half of bloody Canada is in on it. From Orphan Black's perspective, I wouldn't call that fringe. Half of Canada's Neolution. And that a multinational investigation has taken control of all research and suspended the financial activities of the wider Dyad group, and Al-Khatib remains at large. And Al comes over to Dr. S saying, you may not think you need this, but you do, and gives her a bowl of his turkey chili. They should put that as a recipe on the Orphan Black website. That'd be cool, even though I don't really eat turkey, so. Or chili. And Sarah blames Rachel for Ferdinand killing her mum, but Art's saying, you know, Mrs. S didn't blame Rachel. It was clear in her letter that she didn't. Sarah thinks, though, that Rachel could have still done something to stop it, and Art's like, no, Sarah, I want you to know what S did. Her sacrifice. That was for my family too. Neolution friend, all of us. Whatever you need, however, whenever. And he's like, yeah, well, Art is right, because his family was on the line as well. He was being threatened by Enga, you know, Maddie Enga and all that. And, well, it's not just that. It's Adele and Felix, Donnie and Alison, even though Alison's the clone, they have as much stake in it as she does now. And I love their friendship. I love Art and Sarah's friendship. And it doesn't feel like she's replacing Beth, if that makes sense. It's sort of like their own friendship. Yeah, I mean, yeah. And then we see Sister Irina at the wake, and she's looking for Sarah, and Felix is like, you want her? And I was like, yeah. And then Sarah doesn't talk, and she gives Sarah Helena's journal, which means Helena is in trouble. And then we go back to Helena, who is still in the van with Mark, another doctor, and Cody surrounding her. And Cody is examining her to induce labour, saying there are too many people looking for her. And Mark asks about Gracie, and sort of Helena tries to sort of be like Mark, but then they sort of sedate her again before she can tell him. And then we flash back to Helena in the cupboard, and she's singing to herself, and the door opens, and Sister Olga, the one that dunked her head in bleach, is there with Thomas. And he's like, "My dear child, so this is where I finally find you. I've been searching for so long. My name is Thomas, and I'm going to take care of you. You don't know how special you are." And this is how Helena ended up Thomas. But Lena had a rough childhood. And then we go to Scott and Cosima. I love them too. And they're playing the game whilst video calling Sarah and Al. I'd just like to say, as someone who loves board games, I can relate. And I need to, although they did say about what game they were playing, I might have to Google it. And they're talking about how Gracie found Helena. And Alison's like, "Helena wouldn't have kept in contact with that Bible thumping little traitor." I think Alison's a little upset about Gracie leaving them and then turning to betray them. And they know they're both gone. Like, Adele comes over after interrogating Sister Irina and says that there's a lot of blood in the room. They're both gone. They don't know that one is more permanently gone than the other. And Scott and Cosima tell everybody the thing that they feared most is that grabbing Helena just as her babies are coming to term. He wants cord blood, a mutation for himself, and then to exploit. And then Felix says about the last time they saw Gracie, who did she sell them out to? And there's like Virginia Cody, and it's all like, oh, you really will regret letting her out. And Donnie asks, are they taking her to the island? Because, you know, then that would be a logistical nightmare. Because then they gotta get back to the island, and they're on the island on their own. Yeah, not a good idea. And Cosima says she doesn't know anymore. But they're like, you know, we know. This is like, I know someone who might know, Rachel. And Sarah's like, I don't want to dabble with Rachel again. But she knows deep down that they need Rachel, in a sense. So she's not the one that's gonna do it. Kira needs Sarah at the minute. She's lost her grandma, and I think Sarah needs Kira. She needs a distraction from the loss of her mother, and I think that's why at the end of the episode, that's why she does what she does. Because I've read a lot of people were sort of confused that she says all this about looking after Kira and then goes and does something a bit reckless. I think she needs a distraction, and she needs to not think about that grief. She doesn't need to see the last person that effectively saw her mother alive before she died. Was killed. So who is gonna step up and go see Rachel? And Felix. And it's like, I knew I was rooting for you all. I knew it. I knew you were the MVP. I knew you would come through. So we go to the motel where Rachel is hiding, which is called the Regent, still in the same motel that she was with Ferdinand, which I want to know who's paying the bill for that room. Felix enter, and Rachel starts to apologise for S's death to Felix, and he's like, don't want to hear it. And I was right, Rachel is now one-eyed, evens the playing field, and it does look pretty swollen, I must admit. I mean, ripping your techie eye out and having some tissue put in to fill the hole will do that. So, you know, having surgery on your eye will do that. And Felix tells Rachel that they've took Helena to the island, I think. But Rachel's like, I wouldn't be so certain. And then we go to Helena, and they're wheeling her into the underground of Dyad. I mean, really, they're just putting a plastic curtain up. I know, that's not very sterile. And then we switch to I struggled for this episode, like I struggled to call Mrs. house Sarah and Kira's house. I have moments where I was struggling to call PT John. I ended up doing it in the notes because I was like, I can't call him PT anymore. But we switched to John, PT, and Frontenac, who is giving PT some meds. And I like what they've done in the sense that they've made PT become a lot more unstable and a lot more fragile, looking like he's on the brink of death. It sort of adds a kind of frantic sort of do it now, do it now, do it now sort of aspect to it. And he tells Frontenac to find Al-Khatib and get rid of him to continue the cleanup, and it's been going very well so far, so I assume that means they've killed the rest of the board. And Frontenac says those who are left are behind you 100%. And then PT proceeds to snatch his wig, remove his wig from his head, shedding the whole lie that was PT Westmoreland. And then we go to Helena, and she's being hooked up to multiple wires to check her pulse and heartbeat and blood pressure, etc, etc. I don't need to bore people with that medical knowledge because I'm sure a lot of people have been in hospital and they've had all that. And then PT enters, like the room just stops. And then we go to Sarah, who is walking about the house, and she's sort of almost reminiscing a bit more than a bit. She notices the height marks on the doorframe by the hallway, and she finds Mrs. S's jacket hanging in the cupboard by that doorframe, and she sort of proceeds to lift the jacket and hold it tight. A heartbreaking moment. I'm just like, oh, Sarah, so sad. And then we go back to Rachel, who is telling Felix that Siobhan knew what she was getting into, and I can sort of see that, but when you're in that moment and you just sort of think, I just lost a person that I love dearly. I don't want you telling me what they knew they were getting into. It's just like, no, shut up. And he wants to get back to Helena and why she doesn't think they would go to the island. And Rachel tells him that it's not safe for Petey to be there anymore, John to be there anymore. The villagers have rebelled. I call them villagers, they called them subjects, so I'm just gonna call it villagers because, you know, have rebelled and abandoned him. The villagers have rebelled and abandoned him. Powerful people have been exposed and they're vengeful. And while Rachel is talking, Art finds a plane ticket to Zurich. Rachel was planning to flee, and Felix points out that, you know, you can barely walk, let alone run, and it's just a bit like, yeah, fair point. And Rachel, when was Helena abducted? And this is how we know about the time frame. 4 days ago, the night of Felix's art opening. So it's a bit more of a time jump than, say, from episode 7 to episode 8. And Art remembers that he spoke to Sarah saying that Enga has gone AWOL. And Rachel says that she would pick Detective Enga. She's devoted to the cause. I mean, that's an understatement. And Art and Felix leave to find Detective Enga, and who comes to watch Rachel while they go on a yacht? Board games, anyone? Board games? And then we go to Sarah and Kira, and Sarah has a phone call from Felix, and like, well, we're back in the rigid blue arms of the police, and he says that Enga was the one who took Helena. And Art is back in the police station, and so is Enga after going AWOL. And his boss comes up to Art saying they want him next. Interpol just took over 2 fresh murder cases from them. I was like, what murder? And his boss says, I can't remember his name. I don't know if I'm gonna go traipsing down to find his name. And he says, this Neolution thing, you want to tell me how you're connected? And Art's like, what did Enga say? And like, enough to get me listening. And then the MVP, that is Art, steps up. He's like, so you have no idea how wrapped up in this she is? And his boss is like, no, but I don't, but I'm gonna get to the bottom of it. And Art then goes and be the hero of the hour. Like, Lieutenant, I don't know what you know. You could be Neolution yourself, but I have to gamble that you're still police, like me. And like Beth was. We knew you were a team player. Sorry I doubted you. You're a great team leader, a great MVP. And then we go back to Helena, and we overhear Cody say that they've done all they can do naturally to sort of make her have her baby. They need to sort of let nature take its course. But John is becoming impatient and frantic, being like, no dilation from the membrane sweep. I'm gonna Google that and maybe put a bit about what it is. I have no idea. And Cody's like, as soon as it happens, we're ready. We'll harvest fetal stem cells and begin processing a treatment for you immediately. And John's like, I can't wait. Cut them out. And this is John at his callous, frantic, and desperate and monstrous. Even Cody knows that they need to wait, quite frankly. And she's saying a C-section will have unpredictable epigenetic effects on our prime subjects. We need a natural birth. I googled what epigenetic effect mean, and it's like outside influences are on genetics, so mainly an outside influence affecting the gene, your genetic. And John's always acting like a petulant child and not getting his way, and I think he is scared of dying. It's like, does that, I mean, everybody's scared of dying really, but does that you everything or anything of what he's done or doing? No, not at all. I'm gonna say not really, but it's like, no, none at all, none of it. And like, now he's starting to sound like Susan. And Cody's like, you can hold on a little longer. And he says, oh, can I? You want C-section, I want a hormone induction. It's a bit like, I hope Sarah kills you. And then we go back to, we focus on Helena's face. Her eyes are twitching. We flash back to Helena with Thomas. And Helena is playing with dolls. And she's playing with her dolls and recreating what when she was locked in solitary, the cupboard, the nun. And Thomas is teaching Helena about the clones, calling them copies, which is spat on the screen, training her to kill them, to hate them. He's taught her that the copies walk the earth whilst the original is at home with God, and Thomas calls the original beautiful. This is while Helena has the dollhouse set up, so the copies walk about the house, which is a mess, and the original is in a pure white room with white clothes. It's not what he taught her. And she says she will protect her from science devils. It's sort of what she's been doing with her babies, really. And then back to present day, and Helena is awake and is welcomed back by Cody, and they're starting up a toes drip. Even I have watched enough medical dramas and all that, and documentaries and shows to know it's something they give to kickstart labour. Even though right after I sort of wrote that, they explained what it does, I was like, I wanted to look like I know things. And Helena's like, babies aren't ready. Cody's like, they are. I mean, most twins are slightly premature, but they should be fine. And Helena says to her, he makes you do this, like he made you kill Gracie. You are his puppy dog. And then she starts barking and bit and calls her a coward, and I'm like, I love Helena. I love Helena. And then they put a Hannibal Lecter type mask on Helena. I'm like, I don't think that's going to stop her for very long. And then we go back to Art and Felix, who are in Art's car, and we find out that 2 Neo board members have been found dead, and Art has the case for the 2 new murder cases, and Van Leer is one of them. His body washed up on the Humber River that morning, and they're covering their tracks. Thankfully, Art's boss isn't in on it, and he's about the only one besides Art who isn't, and he wants Art to keep digging secretly. And they ring Cosima to add her to the conversation, and she says that Siobhan's list has 9 board members, 2 suicides, Van Leer and the other murdered person, Francine Bernard, who works for Convoy Technology. And we also see that Rachel's part of the conversation as well. And Rachel says that Francine was in charge of alternate facts. It's a bit like fake news, whitewashing the eugenic agenda. That is what the board is for, insulation. And Hell Wizard is also with Thema and has got 2 more dead board members. Korean politician Seung Pak was found hanging in her office, and insurance magnate Jules Martin was reported missing by his wife, and that leaves 3 board members still alive, including Al-Khatib and Rachel. And Rachel says that Al-Khatib may know John's plan, and Art's like, where can we find him? We go back to John and Cody, who are talking about eliminating the board, but that they still need protection. And John says they have the mutation, they have life, they have the Fountain of Youth. And as they're speaking, Mark is sort of in the balcony part watching. I mean, if you've watched the episode, you know this part, what I mean. And John's like, what we don't need are old liabilities, and he's looking at Mark, who doesn't know about Gracie. We've synthesized his pathogen, time to move on, put him down. And this would have been the perfect time for Cody to be like, no, prove she has some morality in her, that she's not gonna put him down, that for all she is spouted about curing Carter, and that she truly cares for her boys, that he's her one remaining boy. And she's like, he's the sole remaining Caster, and can't Virginia see that John doesn't care for Caster? He made her and Susan enemies, but in the end he chose leader, he chose Susan. And he's like, yes, it's like loyalty's lie with a dead girl. And this is John. This whole episode is John showing his true personality, that he's a bit of an arse. And Cody's like, I did not want Gracie killed, you ordered that to force it. And John's like, Virginia, it's always been you and I with strength to act. We talk her, we all see through you. And he's like, the future is female, haven't you heard? And it's like, yeah, that is the worst use of that slogan ever. I'm sure that was not why people created the future is female tagline. And Cody sort of looks at Mark, and she's like, will she do it? Will she finally stand up and do the right thing? Probably not. And the worst thing is that Mark waves to Cody, and it's like, oh, if only you knew, Mark. And then we go to the board, and only Al-Khatib and Mr. Frontenac are in attendance. I mean, most of the other members are dead, so that probably has a lot to do with it. And Khatib insists that his assets have been frozen and his visa revoked, but that John has the signs. He simply seeks assurance that his involvement will continue. Frontenac knows that he's opened up a dialogue with Interpol, and Khatib says that it was a delay tactic on the advice of his counsel. He told them nothing, and he will tell them nothing. And Frontenac's like, they need assurances of their own, and he slides a gun, like, okay. I love what happens next. Felix wanders into the boardroom, and he's like, hello, well, it was absolute murder, but I completely reconfigured the seating arrangements, and I got a brand new colour palette, and suddenly I feel like I'm in the wrong boardroom, and maybe I'm early. And then Art's like, put your hands in the air. And I'd just like to say, Felix and Art are like the best crack team ever. They should do that. Like, if anybody wants to do a spin-off, they should do Art and Felix undercover agent. Great. And Frontenac points the gun at Art. It's a gun standoff, and he tells them that he's broken no laws. And then he stands up, and he's like, I've got a permit for this gun. And Frontenac goes to shoot, but Art gets there first, which, considering he's being investigated about his involvement in the illusion and this whole thing, doesn't look good, especially as it wasn't line of duty, even if Frontenac was going to shoot him. And Rachel wants to speak to Al-Khatib. And then we go to Mark and Cody, and Cody's giving Mark an injection. Mark thinks it's his final dose of the cure, and he also thinks that Gracie's still alive. And I find this scene difficult to watch because Mark is trusting Cody. He ran away with Gracie, and in the end he shouldn't have come back. He's telling her his hopes and dreams for his future with Gracie. This is the person that raised him, that meant to love him. Does that mean nothing? Everything she's put her life towards. Just sad, and I feel bad for Mark, but at least he didn't know that Gracie was already gone. This is the future they were planning, and they should have been able to have it. You've already taken away Gracie's ability to have children because she's with Mark, and now you've killed her. Now you're gonna kill Mark. And I feel like this is where Cody is getting choked up. I'm not sure. I feel like she thinks this is the right thing to do because John says it's the right thing to do. She would do anything for him and to further or think they're furthering science or for their own gain. Their science. It's their science. It's nobody else's science. Funny because I don't think Susan would have done this. Don't think she would have. She may have been morally ambiguous at times, but I stand by that, and I do believe Susan, they're her family. They were her family in a sense. Although that still does not excuse Brightborn. Nothing excuses Brightborn. I have to push that aside. Then we go back to Helena, and she has her Hannibal Lecter mask on. But she's starting to feel pain, contraction pain. And then Cody comes in, although my notes keep wanting to call her Toadie, comes in and takes the mask off. Cody is a very strange character. She's bad. She's a bad character through and through. Nothing to excuse that. But yet there are moments of tenderness, like when she holds Helena's hand when she's feeling the pain. He is capable of being a good person, I think. Of having positive emotion. I don't think it's enough to save her. Oh, do you know what I mean? I don't think so. It's not enough. And it's not enough now, after everything. And then we see a flashback of Helena, the one that was released before season 5 started, where Thomas says she's ready to go and kill a clone. And she says, I will make him proud. Dirty copies, they pervert his original, his light. I will cleanse them from this earth, she says, looking into the fish knife. And we see her trailing a lady into the church. This lady has a scarf covering her head. And she heads towards the lady right behind her and stabs her in the back. And as she falls backwards, Helena grabs her and sees her face, her own. Helena wasn't expecting them to look like her. I feel like Thomas has told her they're copies, they're all this and that, but actually seeing them and seeing your own face staring back at you after not seeing, like, she hasn't seen them before, so she doesn't know, kind of startling. And she goes back to Thomas being like, they look like me, I am a copy. And Thomas tells her that she's the original, which is just like, it sort of touches on what Sarah said at the start of the show, where she's like, did he tell you you're the original? Because you're not. Being like, well, yeah, he did actually. Tells that she's the original, that she's so special. They copied your body, but not your soul. And then we see Helena on her own in a night dress take a blade and cut her back. The first cut in her angel wing. That is how Helena came to be who she is and why she has wings on her back. And then we go back to present time, and I love this scene. I love Helena. I love Helena. I'm not gonna deny it. I love Helena. I just can't with this scene. Tatiana in this scene, her emotion was just like, I want to be able to portray that. Like, seriously, if I could be half the actress that Tatiana is, or half the actress that Catherine Alexandre is, because Alexandre, we forget that Catherine Alexandre does this without credit. I mean, she's in the credit. That would be an uprising, but she does it because she loves acting. She loves acting. She loves doing what she does, and you can tell that they both love doing what they do. And Helena's sort of like remembering that memory, and she's like, I'm not special, I'm a copy like my sisters. You let him take your babies, please. Not mine. They need their mother. And Cody, well, she's probably the worst. Well, that's just not true, Helena. You forget. I know who you are. Dumped at birth. Killer. You killed your own sisters. You stink like an animal. What kind of mother could you possibly be? She's like, call for me when she's dilated tweets and me. And that one line reverberates with Helena. What kind of mother? It's a bit like, excuse me? We just witnessed you kill one of your sons. It's funny that, like, they take the moral high ground, like, thinking, even though they've done just as bad, you know, if not what. It's funny because I think they think they're right. I think they think they know everything. They're right in that, you know. And if they would, like, Helena, she's changed this whole series, but they are always going to see her as this person that killed the clones. When she'd be brought up like that, it's like the whole nature versus nurture thing again. But, you know, that was nurture. Who's to say she'd grown up in the same way Sarah? She wouldn't have done that. Sort of, it's obvious. And I feel like Helena has spent this season looking after her baby. She's one of the biggest character arcs of this show. And then we go back to the motel with Rachel and Khatib. And Khatib's like, I told you I don't know where he's taking the science. And I love this line from Rachel because it shows she cares. It shows that she's sort of, alliances have changed, that her allies have changed. Her name is Helena. Yeah, Rachel. Yes, you want somebody. You know one of their names besides Sarah. You're supporting your sisters. And he's like, fine, you shot the one person who did know where she is. Rachel's like, well, Mr. Frontenac was going to terminate you. I know you don't like death, but that puts you squarely in ours. And the phone rings and it's Sarah, and like Kira said Helena is in trouble. Kira can feel her babies are coming, and Rachel's saying to Alcatraz, she sees only two options for him. Either they hand him over to John. I have a third option. I pull the trigger for the second time today. I'm like, yes Art, when did you turn into this badass character? I don't know. Like, Art's coming into his own. Art's like, yeah. And Alcatraz pleads and says that all he knows is the person with the biggest target on their head is Rachel. And Sarah tells Rachel that if he wants her so badly, why don't they hand her over to him? And we go back to Helena, who is singing to herself. But when the doctor leaves, she springs to action using the drip tubing to hook and grab the medical trolley, grabbing a pair of scissors to cut the wrist restraints. I mean, only Helena. It's like on one of those survival shows where you're like, who would you most like to have help you? Helena. We go upstairs to John and Cody, who are saying about how Helena's contractions are strong and steady. She's an hour to from giving birth, and John tells Cody to stay with her, that euthanizing Mark was a necessity. And in comes Maddie Engo saying Khatib's on the phone, that Dr. Frontenac messed up, and he tells Al-Khatib tells John that he will give them Rachel in exchange for his life, that she is more of value. And Engo goes to pick up Rachel, unaware that Art is following her to Helena. And Cosima, we got to Cosima and she's like, do you know how crazy this plan is? There's so many things that could go wrong. And Rachel, because it's Sarah as Rachel, not Rachel. Rachel says that Sarah needs to stall when she gets there, and John wants an audience before he kills Rachel. And we go back to Helena, and this scene hurt my heart so much. When I watched it, when I watched it for the second time with my mum, I did have to say, don't panic. I know you love Helena. Don't panic. Who is still trying to cut the wrist restraints, but sort of realizes that she won't be able to cut them. She decides she can't let her babies be born. They won't be safe. She would rather die and take them with her than let them be here. And I think also because she doesn't know what's going to happen to her after her babies are born. And in Ukrainian, because Tatiana Maslany knows Ukrainian by the sound of things, or she learnt Ukrainian for this. My baby, you deserve better than me. You will not be an experiment. I set you free, my baby. And then she cuts her wrist. Cuts the main wrist vein in her wrist, and I'm like, I refuse to let you die, Helena. Not this way. We have waited 3 and a bit series for these babies and Helena to be happy, not for her to die. Like, seriously, read that. That's all in capitals. Orphan Black, you owe 3 and a bit series she's been pregnant. I need to see these miracle babies. It's very painful watching though, and I'm surprised I didn't cry. And then we go to Art, who is still following Anger, and he's like, does anyone else recognize this route? Because they're going to die at only not the new building, which is surrounded by reporters, but the old building, which Scott and Cosima spent months working in. I love Rachel's reaction to it. She seems gobsmacked at the goal of it, that they're there. And she says, I expect he still has authorities there in his pocket. The bomb he's hiding right next to Dyad as it's self-destruct. And we found out that they closed the old wing down, but you know, not anymore apparently. And Scott says he practically lived in that building, but Cosima says that it's a converted asylum. It's basically impenetrable. And then Hellwizard says he worked in security and he can get them in that wing. And we go back to Dyad, and Sarah's pretending to be Rachel, and she says, you're sitting in my chair, and it's like, yeah. And before Cody goes to see Helena, she says, your turn to snip loose ends, John. I'm like, no, I don't think so. And Sarah's like, will you tell me about Helena's birth? I'm curious. And John's like, you gave that up, remember? Then we cut to Helena and Cody, and the doctor's finding her, and they take her wrist restraints off to get to our arm. Then back to Sarah and John, and John's like, secrets? I know yours, Rachel. I know how you cup your hands just so you can hide digging at your fingernails, the thing you can't stop. I know how you constantly write letters to your biological mother you've never met. And Sarah's like, stop it. I know how you touch yourself in the shower when you think it's clean. And she's like, stop it. And I feel like this is John, the man behind the mask, violating a person's body, a woman's body, to spy on that person. Because cloning and robbing her of her ability to reproduce and having a genetic disease, and worst of all, having no right to herself, to freedom. That's in essence who he is. And Sarah says, Father, you could have had everything if you trust me. And I think John is starting to sense it's not Rachel, because he's like, you've never called me that before. Sarah's like, it was how I felt. And John sort of cradles her face and going like that, sort of pulling a wig and eye patch off. And before anyone can do anything, Sarah whips out a knife and slashes John in the neck, and I'm like, yes! Yes, I mean bad move, but yes. And before Anger apprehends her and John is about to shoot her when Cody sees Sarah and says Helena needs a transfusion and Sarah is compatible, you know, sisters, and they need her to save Helena. And then we go back Scott and Hell Wizard, who are making their way through the reporter crowd. They're carrying a medical tissue box and they're sort of going to break into Dyad through the new Dyad under the pretense of they've got a live organ. And then we go back to Helena and Sarah as Sarah is hooked up to give blood to Helena. I'm gonna get the poster here. It's the poster that was released at the start of the series of them two sort of hooked up together with blood running through them. And Sarah keeps trying to talk to Helena, and Cody gets a scalpel ready saying that if she doesn't wake up they're gonna do a C-section. Sarah's trying and pleading with Helena. I mean, she's already lost her biological mother, their biological mother, her grandma, Mrs. S's mum, MK. She can't lose another person. She can't lose the one person in the world who matters most to her besides her own daughter, Helena. And then we go back to Scott and Hell Wizard and and Helena wakes up then. And then she wakes up, which is a lovely, it's just like, oh Helena, you're awake, you're alive. And then we go to Scott and Hell Wizard, and Scott is panicking, and then they're in, and Scott heads in through the door, and I swear if they killed Scott here, I would start a riot. I'm sorry, I love Scott. You cannot kill Scott. I'm afraid that's just like no, it's not happening. And then Scott heads down the staircase and gets to the door, the fire exit door. And after a minute opens the fire exit, triggering the alarm to let Art in. And having heard the siren, Cody sends Anger to see what's happening. Kill her. Not a violent person, but just do it. And then we go back to Art and Scott's like, should I have done that? You know, was that a good idea? He's like, well, it will draw him out. And he asks Art to saying Art he'll stay. But Art's like, go. Get Hell Wizard and get out. He's done his part. I'll admit, I can see Art dying. I hope he doesn't. I hope he kills Anger. But he's in a difficult position there. Him and Helena and Sarah, all three of them stuck in the Dyad building with, you know, Cody, Anger and John. I hope he doesn't die. And if he does, I hope he takes Anger out with him. This is a good thing. Like, it means the person that plays Anger is a good actress, because I don't like her. And then we go back to Sarah, Cody and Helena, and Anger's left them to see what the noise is. And Helena asks Cody for water, and whilst Cody has her back turned, Helena flashes like a knowing smile to Sarah, and she turns back and puts the bottle to her lips, and just when she's off guard, Helena grabs her head and slams it into the medical table a few times with the same arm she just cut. I mean, Helena would be a superhero, Ukrainian superhero, and drops her to the floor and says, you're a shit mother. I mean, it's true. It's true. We've all been thinking that. It's not a lie. And then Helena passes Sarah the scalpel to cut the ties and undoes her wrist and ankle tying. And then just as they're about to run, Helena's water spray. And she's like, oh, baby's coming. I mean, they both have sort of like panicked looks on their faces. It's like, crap, we're stuck in Dr. Frankenstein's lab. And then the credits roll, and I love the fact they've got like 60s, 70s music that Helena listens to, because she loves music, she loves old music. An idea, because she's singing Helena. There's a lot of Helena singing through the credits of the song, and I've got the greatest idea. Helena, Donnie and Alison, a band. And for a drama-filled episode, the credits were quite a nice sort of lift. No, so it's a two-parter in a sense. Kind of nervous, and I saw a clip from next week where Sarah standing in that same sort of cubicle bit, saying, "This is evolution." And I can't see Helena, and I've read apparently Helena goes and hides in sort of the enemy's lair thing. I think it was out. I don't know, and people are thinking Sarah's gonna die. I think people are thinking Helena's gonna die. We not just have them all live. I mean, you don't have to necessarily give them happy ending. Chop off a limb or something. Don't kill them. Well, I think either they're gonna go for a full out sort of all of them dead, or no, none of them. But no, the last time I'm gonna be able to say, see you next week for a new review. So sad. I've loved it. I've Orphan Black. I love Orphan Black. Whenever people ask me for a great show review, I will say Orphan Black. It's over, but still one of the most underrated, amazing TV shows. And I think with science evolving the way it is, with gene editing and stuff, we'll be able to refer to this, hopefully, and show that cloning is not a good idea. But also to know that women can be main characters. It's like Tatiana Maslany was saying once, you know, she probably would never have been, if it was like based on just one character, she would never have gotten to play things like Rachel and stuff. But it shows that you can be these characters, and that you don't have to be on screen to act, and you don't have to, just because you're not being seen doesn't mean you don't do a good, really hard work. And that, you know, really hard time up. But yeah, that'll be for next week. I can sum it all up. Right now, I'm internalizing. Thanks for watching. See you next week for the final. Thanks for watching. Bye.